Oh, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. How you doing? Here's Amy Democracy Now.
I'm Amy Goodman. In Libya, the mayor of the eastern port city of Derna says up to 20,000 people have been killed by Sunday's catastrophic floods, which were triggered by the collapse of two dams amidst unprecedented rainfall. Libyan officials say the true toll may never be known after floodwaters washed whole neighborhoods into the sea. On Tuesday, Libya's prime minister dismissed the need for international aid, though he said Libya does need help locating the bodies of victims who were swept into the Mediterranean.
We do not need aid, not even medication or equipment, nor doctors.
Warned of the potential spread of disease and appealed for more body bags. Many of Derna's flood victims are being buried in mass graves. On Wednesday, UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk called on Libya's two rival governments to set aside their differences in order to coordinate relief efforts.
I call on all.
So here's a good point. So out of chaos comes order. That's on our dollar bill. Out of many is one. So we watch the globalized, materialist world precipitate chaos. Muammar Gaddafi, he was our boy, right? And he did his job well. And but he was smart also. So he had Libyan crude, the best oil there was. So he didn't let countries come in and take his oil. He took the oil that was there, developed his own infrastructure for oil, and drilled his own wells and delivered the oil. So he also had refineries. So he was having the end product sold, right? And there were lots of people, not just the United States, who wanted that oil. So he could get his top dollar. And as long as he was getting paid in dollars, he was fine, right? And he bought weapons from everybody, right? And he was like, Wagner. He was America's player that could go kill and maim and start, do little a flight that was taken by a Libyan bomb. That was basically a CIA motif. And it's talking about CIA motifs, and you have to realize that the United States and England have this special relationship, and so they work together as one, right? Especially within the intelligence, MI6 and CIA, NSA, MI5, all work together. And so Iran is a great example. Oh, thank you, dear. You're the best. Little ketchup. Hey there, honey bun. Oh, and tools too. Tools. Give you some tools. So the church crowd is coming in, and I'm sitting in their special seat, and they don't come and join me. So guys, come and join me. Come and join. Okay. That's okay. So, this is a very interesting. Do you read this thing? This is the book the church gives us. This is amazing. This is like a miracle, right? Well, it really puts out the lessons of the Bible extraordinarily well. Ooh. So, basically, Iran is a Persian state, right? And World War One was basically to get rid of Persia, period, right? And it did a good job, right? And all the interlocking entities, and basically Russia and Germany were the two European states that had the most to do with Persia. And the first country to politically recognize the United States after the revolution was Iran. They teach you that in school? Hey, Wally. Some Persians ran around. It was in their who they were. After World War One, England put in character actors. Their father was one of them, and he was a despot. But he did whatever he wanted, and England let him run his own show. And they were an Islamic state, and that was fine. But Islam was very much like, it's an Abrahamic religion. Wally, hey buddy, I've been reading this. One interesting thing when Alan started off.
I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
When you turn it over, they put pictures on it.
You know what this is? This is Babylon. Today
It
is Babylon.
It looks like New York City when I was there.
Yeah,
Maybe-
Times Square.
Maybe Tokyo.
No, Times Square. This is my hometown.
I reckon.
I used to work all over this place.
Is that
Here,
right?
yep. See this building right here?
Yeah.
That is a representation of one of the Babylonian churches. See how it's stepped out, right? This was an oil company's right there, and this is like us. This is us, Babylon. We are Babylon. This is it.
Okay.
You couldn't get any more specific. First page, right off the bat.
Well, now, while you're reading all that about Daniel, that statue, starting with Babylon,
Right.
going through the
Right there.
Romans,
There it is. It's
Roman
there.
Empire.
Yep.
You know the only major world power that's not in that statue? The United States.
Well, that's because the United States wasn't quite there yet.
It wasn't known.
No, we had, well, white people hadn't even come to North America yet. We were still an Aboriginal entity, right? But hey, Aborigines aren't human. The Pope said so. Pope said if you were white and you were a man and you were Christian, you could take anyone's property.
When I was looking at that book, and I just look at that picture on the front.
Yep, that's me. My cane. That look.
What does that woman look like?
She looks like a person who is thoughtful and Christian in her heart. In her heart.
Of a clean woman. I mean, clean.
Thoughtful, and that's what Jesus wants of us to be.
And she's propped up on a cane.
Right,
No wedding ring.
right. Not that we can see.
Well, I believe you could see a wedding when you go there.
Right.
No nose function, no,
Yes. Well, but that's just, what that is.
And then you go to there.
Right. And what that is,
What does it take?
that's called, what that is, that's taste. That is application. That is not knowing who you are.
I got enough holes in my head.
Yeah, right, exactly. I was never up for that.
You're eating heavy this morning.
Not really. It's my usual.
Good to see you.
It's all I can afford. Well, I really appreciated your teaching on Sunday.
Well, I just have so much. I just hope that it was a thought-provoking thing because I raised issues and didn't finish the whole story. So,
Well, no one seems to want to follow the book.
well,
This is a miracle book. It really is. It explains things
it's
amazing.
fantastic. Look at the people that write these stories.
Right. I mean, I write all over it.
Me too.
Right.
Yeah, I do that too.
Well, if I were to teach, I would use this thing straight up.
Me too.
I wouldn't. But what I liked about what you did, Wally, is you taught from your heart. You didn't try to impress or quote or anything. You taught from your heart.
Coming from you, that's a compliment.
It meant to be.
I appreciate that.
I really appreciate that.
You're very kind and good to see you.
Yep, I'm always here for you, Wally.
You must be important.
Well, it's hard to go up against NATO when you're in a little country. And see, what Gaddafi did was he the country that the United States, England, and NATO support. Well, we supported Iran when the Tsar was there, right? His daddy. But there was a really elected and what he wanted to do was nationalize Iran's natural resources and take control of them. And, we called him a communist. He wasn't. He was a nationalist, right? And he wanted everyone to be able to have freedom of expression. That if they wanted to be Muslim, they could be Muslim. If they wanted to be, very conservative Muslim, they could. If they wanted to be, not so conservative, they could. If they wanted to be Christian, they wanted to be Jew. The second largest grouping of Jews on this planet are in Iran. Iran has about 20 different nationalities and people that are there, and don't want they feel like they are Muslim. They don't want to go to America. They don't want to go to Israel. They don't want to go to Saudi Arabia. We support Saudi Arabia. That is, it's a total, fascist entity, right? Run by a family that had no authority, just took it. England put them there, right? Go watch the movie Lawrence of Arabia. Explains what happened to, why do we call it the Middle East? It's Africa. And all those Emirates, they are not there by any authority other than the American gun. And we almost went mano a mano up against Iran thanks to good old Carradine. He or the Republicans get back into power, we will have war, nasty war with Iran. You know, America talks about human rights and
Strongest ones that I can buy. Oh, you don't get them cheap? No. $8 and something.
and you know, we talk about Ukraine's need to be free, protect its borders, and blah blah blah, and Lincoln and all the rest of the blind mice go to Ukraine and speak about that. Have these great speeches on the steps of the Capitol, and then they go visit, Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, and give them more weapons to kill their own people, and invade other countries. Yemen, Saudi Arabia invaded Yemen.
She come to see me. Hey, Mark, come on over. I just sit.
And Syria. I'm still in New York. Well, in Iran, when the people were getting upset with the Shah of Iran, he just happened to get cancer. And then he left the country to get work done. And then a small group went and talked to the American consulate, which had already been emptied. And the people who were hostages were all military, all trained to put up with it. They were not diplomats. And this was to get Ronald Reagan, a game show host. What was it in? Jimmy Carter was somewhat appreciated. I mean, I got my first loan when Jimmy Carter was president. We did not only had stagflation, so all the prices were going up and everyone's paying less. Right? And corporations are making a lot of money. Country is still in the midst. The oil price gouge. And but he was able to get Egypt and Israel to have a peace and give back land after they had just had a war. And Good Chris. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sense Alba. Don't believe what I say. So you look at all the media, and it's mind-boggling. What's being said, and everyone's going, "Oh, fake news is terrible." We gotta start putting people in jail, just giving their opinion. So let's go to this. This is a Course in Miracles. This is a book published by Lifeway Publishing. Lifeway.com/Bible studies for life. And it really is. So this section, they give it to you, and it's used every Sunday for fellowship. And that's what I go for fellowship. I don't go for the ceremony. I would be a hypocrite if I did. Right? So from September 3rd to November 26th, this book has a lesson for each Sunday. So the first session for September 3rd, develop strong convictions, right? And it deals with Babylon, and Persian kings, right? Number 2, September 10th, pray for passion. Number 3, September 17th, that's this Sunday coming up. Speak truth boldly. And that's kind of what I do. I can't help myself, right? When I was murdered here yesterday, I was telling this story. Here I am at 6, right? And 6, the year of 6 was very, very important to me. Not that I knew it was, but it was because my father had quit the Air Force, where he had been a bird colonel. He always got a big house. He had servants, he had chauffeurs. My mom liked all that, but he didn't get paid. And he wasn't going to be a general because he didn't fly airplanes. So my mom said, "No, you got to get out of this and make more money. The war is over. They don't need you. You did your SAC thing for the commies." And so his job, he was in a job that you don't quit, but you can change uniforms. From his blues to a nice Brooks Brothers. That's what he did. So anyway, so he left and he went out and got himself a job at a paper company, and he went around looking for a job like in 1949-ish, and maybe 1950, 51, somewhere around there, just after I was born. And when I was born, there was 2 before me that died, right? Stillbirth and not abortion, but oops, kid slid out too early. And so basically, and my mom, she's stone Catholic, right? So there's no abortion for my mom. As there was no, divorce from my mom. My parents should have never been together, but they were cross-star lovers. They were twin flames, but boy, my mom triple Capricorn, woo, Adolf Hitler and Marilyn Monroe's body. My dad triple Virgo, always right, third colonel. And my feral brothers and sisters. My father said, do this. He was giving orders from the military. I'm like, I don't want to do that. What should I do? I don't want to do that. Me, yes, sir, right away, sir. And then I go to what I would do things like this. Right? Instead of cleaning the house, I was making a spaceship, right? Look at that. It's being held up by one wire and level, right? It was promoting its own gravomagnetic force. And I had read an article, a Russian article, about consciousness. And this guy, Stalin had put him in and they didn't kill him. He just stuck in a box, down underground, no windows, no air, just one light bulb always on, right? So this guy had to either go crazy or, he prayed, right? And he went into state. And this is what I want you guys to do. Sit there, don't cross anything. Breathe in through your lungs with prana, that's God's love. Expel the carbon dioxide. Carbon is the life force, of this planet. Everything's made from carbon, So to go on about carbon, killing the planet, now, it's not so much the carbon from your exhaust from your car that's killing us. It's the lead, it's the zinc, it's the mercury, it's the everything else, right? And virtually everything we have, all the plastics, everything, everything is made out of oil. This is made out of oil. My laptop is made out of oil. This styrofoam cup is made out of oil. This frame is made out of everything we have, and they're all elements that don't break down that easy. So they go into the landfill, and they get hit by UV light from the sun, and it basically the thing that gets let go is the methane, because methane is an element that a chemical that's azine, very, very volatile, right? Gasoline, azine. It's all azine. So anyway, it's a real interesting thing. So we don't have to worry about the carbon. Carbon is the plants. Stop cutting down trees. The plants, go back to organic farming. Stop putting fertilizers on the ground and killing the ground. If we keep farming the way we are, within 20 years, give or take, so here it is, 24, so that'll be 34, 44, 50, let's say 50. By 2050, there'll be nothing to grow. We will have killed all of the arable land, right? All the plants will die. That will cause some serious problems. That will cause some real serious heating up, right? And we will have, fished out and killed the seeds, which, the seed is the thing that captures more carbon because there's all this life in it that lives on the carbon that the seed captures, right? But when you kill all of the reefs and all the animals that live in the reefs, and then all the animals that eat those little animals that live in it, you get the picture. Now this is being done by man, right? But it's not global warming. This is global poisoning, right? By industrial chemicals. So, 17, speak your truth boldly. I think I'm doing that right now, right? Live courageously. I kind of do that right now. I live like a millionaire on $400 a month. This is a good place, 29 minutes and 6 seconds into the show. Thank you for the one person since last Thanksgiving that has sent me some money. Well, that's not true. There's been 4 others, right? But they sent me $100. That was nice, right? The others, that all they could afford was $10. That's fine. If everybody watching sent me $10, I'd be fine. My well went, and it's costing $26,000 to fix it. Now I was about to fix it for $12, and well guys came in, hey, get out of our way, and they ripped it out of the ground, and they said it'll cost $26,000. It was like local 3, it's like mobsters, right? So speak truth, boldly, live courageously, confess wholeheartedly, right? That's a good one. What kind of humility confessing wholeheartedly, the number one thing, the big sin. There is no sin. God created everything. This is a sandbox for us to play in. And right next to me, instead of talking like this, they're talking about their little church things that this person said this, and what they're doing in other countries, really. Let's see let's go to Amy. Let's go to Amy.
But you either pay for a little bit better and not water, or you pay a little bit cheaper if you're making those in school. They're gonna get your money one way or the other.
You're gonna get your money one way or the other.
Call on all Libyan political actors to overcome deadlocks and divisions and to act collectively in ensuring access to relief. This is a time for unity of purpose. All those affected must receive support without regard for any affiliations.
The catastrophic flooding in Libya came as a new study found Earth's ecosystems are outside of their safe operating space for humanity. The report in the journal Science Advances warns of imbalances to a majority of key measurements of the planet's health, including biodiversity, fresh water, pollution, and the climate. Climate scientist Johan Rockström co-authored the report.
6 of the 9 boundaries are outside of the safe space. The 4 boundaries that we assessed in 2015 are deeper into the red, so we're continuing to move in the wrong direction. And this is a big concern.
Close to 800 organizations have endorsed climate actions beginning Friday, culminating in a march to end fossil fuel Sunday here in New York at the United Nations. In Morocco, search and recovery teams say they're frustrated that the government rejected offers of foreign aid as the death toll from last week's devastating earthquake nears 1,000. This week, French President Emmanuel Macron sent a message to the Moroccan people that King Mohammed VI had rejected an offer by France to provide direct humanitarian aid. So far, Morocco has only provided access to aid workers from Spain, the United Arab Emirates, the UK, and Qatar. Many survivors in remote villages have been sleeping outdoors since the earthquake struck.
We don't know where we're going to go, what we're going to do, where we're going to live. Winter is coming, the rain. Winter conditions, rain. We have young children, we have nothing.
The United Nations Special Envoy to Sudan, something that's not allowed under the UN Charter. Volker Perthes just testified to the UN Security Council Monday.
5,000 people have been killed since the start of the conflict and over 12,000 injured. And these are conservative figures. The actual number is likely much higher. What started as a conflict between 2 military formations.
You go on and on and on. You get the picture, right? This is being manufactured, all of these things. And now, this is fake news, right? The fact that, Libya had, did you see pictures? I mean, just the dams. They said there was first an earthquake. First, there was tons of rain, more than historical reference. And then there was an earthquake that broke the 2 dams. That had been because, after NATO killed Gaddafi and his administration, and why they did that is because Gaddafi, other than all the other despots in the Mideast, and he was made by the Western European countries, England, United States, EU, NATO. The reason why he wasn't opposed or upset by his people was that he gave them all a house, gave them all education, gave them all a job, fed them. He developed their own oil industry and sold it to Europe. And he was moving to wanting to be paid in gold rather than U.S. dollars. And that's why they took him out. And because people wanted that oil. And the oil companies and the people who that I call the hidden hand, and that's fake news, and the high table fake news, CFR, fake news. Trial Out Commission, fake news. United Nations, fake news. Right? So, so this is all very spiritual. It's the only way any of this can be dealt with is through spirit, and the Bible goes on about it. And this book, the books are over there. If they only read this book, they would understand and talk about it. Now, with this here, I'm listening to their conversation, and they're talking about, like I said, their little peeves about the church that go back, 20, 30, 50 years, right? That little church just celebrated its 120th birthday, and it's not going to be here very much longer. Pretty much. It was a really great homecoming. That's what they call it when they celebrate the church, homecoming. It was really great. But that was like a bird song, So. I mean, I'm somewhat fluffy because, back in the days, I used to be able to get people to listen and then motivate themselves to change their life and the world around them. It's not happening much. Anyway. I'll be right back. Listen to the family. I had it done by a wine tattoo guy. I got that one. Hopefully. Okay. That's been better.
Yeah, I had better days, that's for sure. I started off wrong right after that. What happened? I just had to work on it.
Oh. Anyway, every day is my best day. Conscious intent I am. Conscious awareness I am. These folks, well, they are miserable. And they don't even want to talk. Because I talk about stuff that's all around us, what's going on. Like yesterday, beautiful day, Thursday, and I stayed home. I didn't go out. I didn't get anything. I have no money. I'm like, $68 left, until, Saturday's the 16th. So, 16 days from then, I'll get my Social Security. So I have to live on gasoline, food, medicine, electric bill, phone bill on that $67, right? Unless you put something in my PayPal. So come on, And that's for dudewake42@gmail, dudewake42@gmail, dudewake42@gmail. Now, please, I mean, if you're in America, you have a credit card, debit card, and you buy things on Amazon, you can definitely send me something. If you're in Europe, you can do it. I don't know why certain people, I don't know why anybody, there's this thing called centralized digital banking currency. It already exists. Your debit card, your credit card, it's already there. I went to a college to lecture about a month ago. And I went there, and that college does not take cash. All the students have to have a debit card, a credit card, or a card that's hooked up to their loan, right? So
I want you to look at this.
it's a biscuit, sausage, and cheese.
And they didn't put no dog and cheese on it.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
They smeared it. Look at
Oh, they
that.
smeared it. You're not supposed to smear everything.
He can't be picky, right?
You have the dog.
After you saw it.
And the biggest issue is biscuit.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
dog.
I had the same biscuit. Come on, Wally, get over it. Just eat it. It tastes good. I had one of those, yeah, and I had a dollop too. And they smeared it, and I didn't complain.
Well, I mean, look, this is the originator. This is the originator. So, I want her to be proud of her.
You're being a great example. That's all we can do. Is lead by example, right? That's all we can do. It says you and me, AI. That's it. So come on, guys. Oh, we got at least 2 hours, or an hour and 10 minutes on this show left. Anyway, so let's delve into Bible studies for life, right? So again, develop strong convictions. That's the first one, right? Pray, and that was for September 3rd. Pray with passion, September 10th, right? This coming Sunday, September 17th, speak truth boldly, kind of what I do. It's my September 24th, live. I can give you a spoon. Live, courageous. It's only been somewhat used. Live courageously, October 1st. Confess wholeheartedly. That's something that we don't really do. Catholic Church was all about that, right? Because you could do anything you wanted, and then you would go to confession on Fridays, and a priest would be in there masturbating, and he would give you what were known as an indulgence. Say 5 Hail Marys and 16 Our Fathers. Right? Do 3 rosaries, right? October 8th, prepare for battle. October 15th, does it really matter which truth I believe? Right? October 27th, are miracles relevant? Yes, this book right here is a miracle. This book is a miracle. This book is a miracle. Now, Wally wanted to know about this. What do you do with this woman? I said, well, it looks like me. Gray hair. He's old, and he looks content in the fact that she is in love co-creation. I think she doesn't have one. Well, what does that matter? Could be a lesbian. What does that matter? Okay, so here we are. So here's he. Welcome. That was a beautiful meal. Thank you very much, Em. We have a new look and design. Oh, we won't go there. I say, while many things may have changed in the way the Bible studies for life looks, one thing has not changed: our commitment to discipleship. Right? That's fellowship. That's when more 2 come together in my name, there I am, right? So I wrote, what is God's unconditional co-creation? We were created in the reflection, image, and likeness of God. God's reflection. So that's what we are. We are God's reflection. And God created everything. That means the devil, Satan, you name it, God created it. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Because the only thing that matters is love's co-creation. While many things may, each year, our studies, Bible studies for life, books, God's love, and they beat around that. They never really, like me, I'm all about God's love. The only two things that matter, God's unconditional love and Jesus' unconditional forgiveness. The only thing that matters. Everything else is an illusion. Does not matter. Where that lady has the ring on, and then, he then went on about, look at this, right? So those convictions, what are convictions? Well, what is a conviction? What is a conviction?
Well, if there are charges and you are found guilty, that is a conviction.
I thought it would say what our heart in love is all about. I thought that was conviction. Your conviction, like right here, it says right here, that we need to have strong conviction of our belief.
See, that's the same thing about, conviction is
Not conviction, convictions.
conviction.
Right? Those endings and those tenses are important.
CONVICTION.
That's it, conviction. Instead of convicted, ED.
Well, okay, so Adam was convicted.
Was he really?
Adam came in. God came into the garden, and
But God knew Adam was going to do that. Adam was actually created to do that.
that's the thing about being God. God put him in the garden, and we can't say, did God know what it was going to happen?
God made the devil.
Yeah.
Satan, number one.
Why did he allow evil to exist?
Because we learn from it. Instead of being told,
That's our reasoning for it. I don't know why God allowed evil to exist.
I think the only two things that exist in reality, in God's consciousness that we should be in, is love and forgiveness. Everything else is illusion. It's like our sandbox. We're children. We're playing with this stuff. But when you put it in that context, then all the misery and suffering. Just look at what's happened in Libya and in Morocco. Did you see the images of that city in Libya? Because of, basically, Omar had a pretty good country going, and 10 years ago, we bombed it into non-existence. And those two dams have not been, they took money from those people to keep them up, but they never did. And then they had a little earthquake that caused those dams to break. And the picture of how the whole city, the middle of it, is washed away. And it's not like terrible things don't happen all the time, but that's so like, whoa. God definitely, God creates everything. So in a certain essence, God just did it. But the reason those dams collapsed is because the politicians there took the money and spent it on themselves instead of keeping the dams up. God didn't break them down. God let it happen so man would understand what he's doing to himself. Because it's becoming more and more and more really evident that we're doing this to ourselves. It's not like God back in the day, oh, God did that. And that government is trying to say, oh, he was an act of God. Yeah, that's what, yeah. So, well, it's the only one who talks. Anyway, so here, develop strong convictions. CONVICTIONS. Our convictions, not our circumstances, define who we are. Right? And I would say the TION is an action word, right? Conviction is an action word. So it's our actions to define who we are. Let's see. Actions, right? Our actions need to reflect our conscious intent, meaning our commitment to God's love and Jesus' forgiveness. Not just talk about it, do it. Right? The guys in that Mediterranean country that had a big earthquake a couple of weeks ago, and poor people up in the Atlas Mountains got total, right? Not so much down in the cities down below, where the rich people are, where the gambling casinos in the Mediterranean are. And things kind of rocked and roll, but up there in the Atlas, and the king there says, "Oh, we don't need any help. We got it covered." And the poor people up in the Atlas, and he's saying that because the poor people in the Atlas, he can't really get to them to control them, to be, the dictatorial fascist that he is. Guys in the cities, he buys them off, right? He has, all the rich people from Europe come and gamble. These people work there. It's not a problem. But the poor people who are in those cities, and they go to jail. They say one thing against the king, off to the woodshed they go. But the guys up there, it's hard to find them, hard to control, hard to get out of them. But now they're all dead. So you don't have to worry about it. So we don't need to. You don't want the UN there. You don't want the Red Cross there to see how terrible it really is and that he's done nothing about it, So, is that Christian? He's a Christian. Even though he says he's Muslim. So anyway, why at age 6, that little peanut guy, weighing about 60 pounds, about 4'6", basically, that summer, my dad was gaga about Christmas and summer, and we'd take the summer vacation. He was like Chevy Chase and vacation. But my dad was a Virgo, so he planned everything else. So he figured out how to have vacations that weren't catastrophically terrible, right? And so we moved to this house, from the little house that I had to sleep outside. And that's why I can sleep outside today, right? That's why I'm sleeping right now. These guys have houses. Me, I live out in the woods, right? And now the rich people there want to be less of the well breaking. They want to, I need to come up with $6,000. Otherwise, they're going to put a lien on my property because they desperately want to get rid of me, right? So it'd be interesting. So God put me here just to say, oh, this is going to be fun because it doesn't matter. I've been there 23 years. I've had the most exquisite time. It's been the Garden of Eden. Just been me and Bunny and the butterflies and the birds for 18 years. And then the cockroaches start to come out, right? And now the properties have changed hands twice in the last 3 years. And because as people buy them and then realize they can't do anything with them. And so they sell them to somebody else, And so everyone there has been ripped off from the developer who started this, in 1979. It was a scam then, scams like the Garden of Eden. So it's super, super, super sensitive spiritually, energetically, right? And energetically, look at that piece of wood there. That's being kept up there by that one wire. I have balanced it. I brought homeostasis to that wood. Look how level it is on one freaking wire. And it weighed more than I did. So you can do anything. Everything is a miracle, right? And so I just get out of the way, and that's one of the major things. Humility, I'm not an A-lister. I'm not in charge. I'm not the most important thing. I am here. I am God's doula. And in Greek, doula means slave. I have one master, God. Right? So that's where I'm at, right? Here we are. Ooh, I love it. 54 minutes and 54 seconds. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Alba. Me here, your little peanut, an older guy. And this is me at the same time. I can remember that day. I can remember being in my mother's uterus. I can remember every cigarette she smoked like a chimney when I was in her uterus. She drank like a fish one. Because the other two that came before me she got rid of with cigarettes and alcohol, right? Yeah, she wasn't going to get an abortion. The Catholic Church said, "Oh, that's a no-no." And she was too lazy to have rhythm. She wanted to get knocked, pounded all the time. So in that little house, the house used to rock when my dad would be pounded my mom. It was like surreal. But like I said, she was Adolf Hitler in Marilyn Monroe's body, right? And so if you want to read my novels, I got 18 of them. And I'm finishing up the first one, right? It's going to be the major ship of the group, and so it's setting up all the characters and such. So, Mr. Bezos, get a hold of me. You have that nice. You have nobody to write your things. I have 18 novels. I could be like 18 TV shows, right? Anybody wants to get a hold of me, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42@gmail. Dudeawake42@gmail. Mr. Bezos, you could drop $1 million in my PayPal and you wouldn't even notice it. But me, it would be like getting MacArthur grant. Hey, how about getting a MacArthur grant? I've done enough in the art world. They deserve a MacArthur grant. So, but see, I was always art for art's sake, not money for God's sake. So, because I knew that once you're born, the next thing is death, and the stuff in between is moment by moment. Shakespeare, Hamlet, and tomorrow, which is, go watch Chubby Chase and Raccoon Land, or what was that? The guy who sees a shadow. Anyway, remember to breathe. Breathe in that prana. Very good. So, question 1. When have you experienced culture shock? Every second, every moment, every instant is culture. Right here is culture shock. Right? Every moment and not. Culture shock is every moment when you're not connected to God. That's the only sin. The Bible speakers, people who quote the Bible, constantly talk about how we are in sin. Right? We are sinners. The one and only sin there is being disconnected from God. Sometimes we look at our world today and say, "This is not the world I have known." This ain't the world I've known. This ain't the world I want to know. And this world has been this way as far back as I can remember. And I can remember as far back as being in my mother's uterus, being toxed out by tobacco and alcohol. Right? And I'm not going to ever give up. I can get frustrated, like right now. The folks over there. Oh, sure, my friend. Bart, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
You're looking really good, buddy. Me, every day above ground is a good day. What is reality? I don't know what reality is. Do you? I painted myself in. Well, guys, I'm tired. Unless you have some questions, there's 2 of you there. Ask me some questions. I'll give you some answers. And otherwise, send something to my PayPal. Come on, let's see $1 million in my PayPal. Come on, you can do it. Jeffy, you can do it. Elon, you need my help more than anybody. Elon, if you don't realize you're being set up, you and Mr. Facebook, you're both being set up. You're going to be remembered as worse than Adolf Hitler, worse than Stalin. Go watch Gene Roddenberry's Next Generation. At first, thing at PowerPoint, where they meet Q, right? And he shows them, what 2020 was like. Right? Kind of mix of French Revolution and the worst nightmare, dystopian, Xenon, Zardo, you could think of, right? And that's what we're heading for, kids. Right? And we don't have to be there. We have all the technology. The technology that could drive, the manufacturing, the Star Trek world is right at our fingertips. And we already got it. We got it in the 50s and 60s, all the corporations, the 8 corporations, back in 47, there were something like on the order of 1,500 industrial military contractors. They're now 6. The federal government, 6 went to the congressmen and senators, and the Congress gave them trillions of dollars to buy up all those things. They said it'll be cheaper, it'll be quicker, it'll be better, and it's not that way now. Right? Right now the Navy is building 7 large destroyers at $2 billion a pop. They're building 2 more Gerald Ford class aircraft carriers that are $11 billion a piece, and they're building more nuclear submarines. Right? And all of this technology is stable. The only people that technology is threatening is third world. It's not threatening China. It's not threatening Russia. It's not threatening anybody. But and so like in the Persian Gulf, to put an aircraft carrier there is just making it a sitting duck. And if we put something there and something happens with Iran, they have the technology to sink a carrier, a couple of those $2 billion destroyers, right? And kill about 20,000 Navy guys, like within half an hour. But we almost did that with Carrot Head. Carrot Head nearly went to war with Iran 3 different times in those 4 years. He killed the the little deal that Obama had made to have the Iranians not make fission material, and the Iranians have fission material right now enough to make probably 50 nuclear weapons, and they have missiles that can deliver those nuclear weapons. Now they haven't tested one out, but they have the material, they have the technology, they have the know-how. Right? So, and Russia is a ticking time bomb because every time they get closer to democracy, we put all of these tremendous economic restraints on Iran, on North Korea, on Russia, on who else? You name it, and Syria, and a whole bunch of other countries, Yemen. And what do you see? By doing that, the poor people, middle class, the people who would step up to be democratic, get crushed economically. So they are forced to worry more about roof over their head and what they're going to eat next and how to feed the kids than having democracy. So democracy never comes. Iran, North Korea are like the poster child of that, right? And so is Pakistan. So is half the countries. Nigeria, all these places where they're having wars in Africa are being caused by us, And every country that is having a war or had a war has tremendous resources. Every country that has nothing has peace. I wonder why that happened. I guess God made it happen. Well, he did. And remember, if you want to send something to my PayPal, that's the dudeawake42@gmail. Dudeawake42@gmail. Now, there's three of you. No one has a question. No one wants to put forth. I've been spouting off here big time, and no one has anything to say. Come on. Come on. She said, and Bobby said, and then Larry said, and then Susie said, you know, no, that's not worth anything. Right? Oh. Remember, dear, just remember to breathe. If you can breathe. Yep. Well, most people don't breathe enough. The thing that helps us breathe is God. Every time you think of God, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Now this is like Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, I'm consciously intent and consciously aware 60% of the time. 48% of the time, I'm a moron. But because I breathe, that starts me out being consciously aware. No, I said that stupid thing to that person. I should say. I'm sorry. Right off the bat, I don't let it get any further than, oh, I was stupid. Sorry. Because people, they get offended so easy, and then they stick you in the sights of the thing that they hate their life. Not that you're causing them your life to suck. Anyway. So come on, nobody has a question. Come on, ask me a question. You know, this is, yeah, okay, here's a good question. How do you get out of your box? You're born, and then they start measuring you for your casket. That's the box. Then, by the time you were, 2 or 3 years old, they've already got you in a casket, right? They got you in a crib, they got you in a bassinet, they got you in a romper room, TV set. By the time you're 4, they give you a smartphone. That's another one. If that don't look like a casket, I don't know what does. Right? So it's I don't know what it is. Let's go back to our girl Amy.
What started as a conflict between two military formations
20 million people and nearly half the population face acute food insecurity. 6 million are just one step away from famine.
More uranium than anybody else, more than Russia. Russia gets close, but Sudan has, and they are the main suppliers of uranium to the EU and the United States, Canada. And all those countries have companies that are there. And so they are causing this stability because it's really the army and the army fighting each other, these two generals. And they didn't want their people were slow walking to democracy, and they knew they were going to be out of a job. So they basically started a conflict. And the army has an air force, so they're just bombing the public. And the Rapid Divorce Fund that's all over the place is just raping and murdering at will and stealing and looting, right? But the army is shelling and bombing with aircraft that the poor citizens have none of the above. That's why there's 26 million of them that are now in the the surrounding countries, which will destabilize those surrounding countries. One of them, Egypt,
of failing to take action in the face of atrocities in Sudan. Ukraine's intelligence service says Ukrainian forces successfully launched their largest attack yet on the Russian Navy's Black Sea Fleet. On Wednesday morning, Ukrainian bombers equipped with British and French-made cruise missiles struck a dry dock in the Crimean city of Sevastopol, destroying a Russian amphibious ship and a submarine. Elsewhere, Russia's military said its air defense units thwarted a drone attack over Crimea, while Ukraine claimed to have shot down 17 out of 22 Russian drones launched at targets in southern Ukraine. Here in the United States, a Senate investigation subcommittee has issued a subpoena for documents on Saudi Arabia's $700 billion sovereign wealth fund and its investments in the U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal is probing a proposed merger between the Saudi fund and the PGA Live Golf Tour. During a hearing Wednesday, Blumenthal and other lawmakers raised Saudi human rights abuses and links between Saudi leaders and the 9/11.
Yes, Saudi leaders and 9/11. 15 of the 16 came from Saudi Arabia. And 8 of those 15 weren't even in the United States or on those airplanes. They were in Saudi Arabia. You know? So, who was flying that? And the guys who went to the flight school failed. They couldn't even fly a Cessna, let alone a 767 or Boeing 767, Boeing 757, which are airliners. And those airliners are like thermoses with engines on. They're very, very, very light. Because the lighter you can make a commercial airliner, the more people and cargo you can stick and less gas you're going to need to fly. So there we have what flew into the World Trade Center. World Trade Center was built, and its load bearing was on the outside of the wall. It's called the bird cage. It was, instead of having, most steel buildings have a steel infrastructure, a skeleton, and then they pour concrete on everything. They spray first asbestos, and then they spray gunite. And the World Trade Center, each floor was an acre big, and it had no columns because the whole floor was being suspended by the outside of the building. And each floor was 4 foot thick of reinforced steel, and then they put the kind of steel cables that hold up suspension bridges between it and close it, and then poured this super duper concrete on it, jiggling it so there were no cavities, no anything. I was an apprenticed electrician on those buildings. I was running a Greenleaf hydraulic bender, 1800. That you had all these little dials, and it would bend anything from 6 inches down to 1.5 inches of galvanized steel. So there was all of that, and plumbing, and everything else. No little. It's known as the deck. And when they were building this big, gigantic floor, they put a deck that you can work on, right? And that was just a temporary structure. And that's what they said, that the fires melted that and the floors collapsed. And not really, because those floors were integrated into the outside of the building. And the scientific, the U.S. government, the 9/11 Commission had the auspices of the national laboratories and invented supercomputing. They had the Office of Weights and Measures, which is a very high technical adroit, and about, you name it, they have every kind of technical wherewithal. And the military, right? Who did they go to be their brain trust on the scientific and engineering of the 9/11 collapse? Popular mechanics, not even popular science, popular mechanics. What's interesting, 9/11 was not just that date. 9/11 in 71 was when Henry Kissinger and Nixon murdered Allende and had a coup right on 9/11 in Chile. And about 10 other 9/11s sprinkled through Western fascists. And what is that? That's when, so there's capitalism. That's when capital is the energy of the government, right? What is socialism? It's when the state controls the economic flow. What is communism? Communism is when the state is the economic flow. And what is fascism? That's when corporations own the government. And that's what we got right now. We have a transnational fascist oligarchy, meaning the people who own, look at the guys from OTEC, ATEC, whatever those guys who, from the Hebrews. No, it's not even the Hebrews. It's the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki own the Congress, right? Saudi Arabia owns the Congress. Entities of that national, China, Japan, the EU, they all have influence into our government, right? And then you turn that around and you look at the corporate influence, which is way more influential. And still no questions from you guys. Come on. It's 1 hour and 16 minutes and 45 seconds. Back to England.
For a while now, I've encouraged Americans to protect their savings with physical gold from Birch Gold.
Indulge me for a moment in a thought experiment. What if Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's husband was discovered to have been working with a major Democratic donor on the funding of left-wing political activism for several years? Say with, a right-wing villain and multi-billionaire George Soros? What would Fox do? What would the Republican Party do? They'd lose their mind. You would already have impeachment articles drawn up in the House against Justice Jackson, even though George Soros, contrary to what Republicans would like you to think, has actually done nothing wrong. Well, that is the subject of Politico's new reporting involving Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, his wife Ginny, and the multimillionaire conservative judicial activist and lobbyist Leonard Leo. This comes on the back of the myriad Thomas scandals in recent memory, like when he failed to recuse himself from 2020 election-related cases, even though his wife Ginny Thomas has been accused of helping push the coup attempt in 2020. Then there was the ProPublica reporting this year, revealing how Thomas failed to disclose multiple trips on billionaire benefactor Harlan Crow's 162-foot yacht, flights on his private jet, and weeks at his private resort. Or the fact that Crow paid for his mother's house, where she still lives rent-free, or that he paid for his grandnephew's school tuition, who Thomas raised as his own son. That reporting forced him to amend his financial disclosure last month. And now a new Politico investigation is adding to that list, reporting that Ginny Thomas's web of ties to Leonard Leo is far deeper and more financially entangled than previously known. Heidi Przybyla, excuse me, my pronunciation is always bad, is a national investigative correspondent at Politico, and as the author activist started a movement, and she joins me now. Heidi, this is an incredible deep dive from you. The chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee issued a statement on your piece today and said, we're living with the consequences of dark money's influence on the Supreme Court every day. What was the most striking thing you uncovered in your reporting?
Well, there were a few striking things, Mehdi. Look, we've long known that Leonard Leo is the face of dark money behind the conservative Supreme Court movement. But what we found was that the collaboration between him and the wife of a Supreme Court Justice, Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, actually began just weeks before his decision in that Citizens United ruling, which would, of course, benefit those very groups. What we found also was that when that blew up, which was pretty quickly, Mehdi, when people found out that she is going to have her own dark money group, there was a lot of backlash to that. And this is the big reveal in the story, is that there was a plan B. And that plan B was activated almost immediately. They pivoted to another dark money group and started paying her under the table. Part of that was, we know, through Kellyanne Conway. But the big question here, Mehdi, based on all of the documentation that I had 5 IRS experts look at, is did he ever stop paying her? What did he pay her for? Did this go on for years? Because unlike the first plan, Plan A, which was for them to have their own dark money group together, that blew apart, right? We're not finding out about Plan B, which is this under the table arrangement where he was paying her via another dark money group. And
references and links between Saudi leaders and the 9/11 attacks.
This week marks 22 years since those horrific attacks. Not only did 15 of the 19 hijackers come from Saudi Arabia, but in the years since, evidence have come to light, compelling and mounting evidence, revealing that the Saudi government may have known or knowingly aided some of these hijackers.
Over the weekend, President Biden shook hands with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the G20 summit 2 days before the U.S. commemorated the 9/11 attacks. While campaigning for President Biden vowed to make MBS a pariah over the assassination of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi and human rights issues. Hurricane and tropical storm watches have been issued for much of coastal New England and eastern Canada ahead of the arrival of Hurricane Lee this weekend. The storm, now a Category 2 hurricane, is expected to widen as it crashes into eastern Maine, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia Saturday, bringing damaging winds and a storm surge that will coincide with spring tides. Members of the United Auto Workers are gearing up for the first ever simultaneous strikes against the Detroit 3 car manufacturers. UAW President Sinn Féin issued a warning to UAW members if Organization for Migration has found the U.S.-Mexico border to be the world's deadliest land migration route.
The International Organization for Migration documented the deaths and disappearances of 686 migrants on the U.S.-Mexico border in 2022, making it the deadliest land route for migrants worldwide last year. The figure represents nearly half of the 1,457 migrant deaths and disappearances recorded throughout the Americas last year, the deadliest on record since the Missing Migrants Project began in 2014.
The UN agency said the true toll is likely to be much higher. Half the recorded deaths near the border are linked to the Sonoran and Chihuahuan deserts. The IOM called on governments to urgently create regular legal migration pathways to prevent further unnecessary tragedy. In Wisconsin, Republican leaders are moving ahead with plans to impeach newly elected liberal state Supreme Court Justice Janet Prasewicz, whose landslide election victory in April gave progressives control of the court for the first time in 15 years. With her election, the court is now expected to restore abortion rights in Wisconsin and could overturn legislative and congressional district maps gerrymandered by Republicans. On Monday, Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos announced the creation of a panel to investigate whether to impeach after called the mapper and rigged during her campaign. In a statement, the ACLU said, quote, "The attacks on democracy happening in Wisconsin should raise alarm bells for Americans everywhere. Across the country, we're seeing increasingly authoritarian tactics being used to disenfranchise voters and delegitimize the electoral process, from baselessly ousting elected officials to election denialism to passing restrictions that make it harder to vote," the ACLU said. And Utah Republican Senator Mitt Romney said Wednesday he will not seek re-election in 2024, saying it's time for a new generation of leaders. The one-time Republican presidential nominee is one of the few members of the Republican Party to speak out against Donald Trump and was the only Republican to vote to convict Trump in both of his impeachment trials. He spoke to reporters after announcing his decision not to run for a second term.
There's no question, but the Republican Party today is in the shadow of Donald Trump. He is the leader of the greatest portion of the Republican Party. It's a populist, I believe, demagogue portion of the party.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report.
So wouldn't that be a good reason for us to, the Little Milliken Church to take the Little Milliken School? Otherwise, the county will turn it into a Walmart or a Dollar General. Or maybe even a sports bar.
Well, eventually they'll sell the property. I mean, they've been in the works for a lot of years to get rid of the school.
Right. And that school is like the only school that really facilitates our community.
Well, every community is, the school is.
It's supposed to be and can be the center of the spiritualness of the community. Our governor and our state legislature would love to give us vouchers. You know, they're all talking about it. You know, everyone should be able to pick their school and have the state pay for it.
The only thing is, we cannot cooperate. The education. We cannot cooperate education.
But if we take over the school, we can define what the education is.
Well, we can take over the school because it is a city. It's a city law stipulated by the.
But if the county sells us the place for $1 and the church takes it over, it can do whatever it wants with it.
It can, but it will be a separate thing. But the county still has to supply education.
Well, the state would give us vouchers to do it. Other states have done this. In Virginia and Roanoke, all of the public schools were sold for $1.
Well, that's an idea.
Yep. Well, that'd be a good one, because without that, if that does not happen, the Little Milliken Church will go bye-bye. Because without that, those kids have JR and that school is bringing the school and the church already together.
Well, it's, I don't know the school and the church right now, the way it is probably is, you'd be surprised that the numbers of people that object to association of churches and like prayer. We had a preacher.
Yeah, but see, if the church ran that school, no one could complain because the church would own it and run it.
It would be a religious school, probably.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They'd still teach.
You can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, in Virginia.
But the people would have to volunteer to come to the religious school.
Of course, but like I said, in Virginia, a good third of all the schools were sold to churches, to Baptist churches, to Jewish churches, to Catholic churches. And the Catholic Church in Roanoke is the biggest school in Roanoke, and 80% of their students aren't Catholic.
Well, the Catholic school is a strong organization. I mean, the Catholic itself is a strong organization that promotes.
But the second biggest school there is a Baptist school.
They have nuns for teachers. I mean,
not really. The nuns have gone away. They had people like me teaching.
Well, they can't do anybody. They run out of nuns. They don't even have.
It can work if you want it to work. I mean, that's what prayer is about. You ask God, and God gives you whatever you need. And our church needs that school. Otherwise, that church ain't going to be there. I mean, that homecoming 2 weeks was the sweetest thing I've been to for a long, long time.
It was pretty good.
It was. It was one of the, it's been making me smile for the last 2 weeks.
Well, it's good to be a part of that.
Yeah, but it won't be there unless that school is feeding it, and like I said, if it gets turned into a Dollar General.
Here's the one thing that's going to be a constant. The kids are going to stay in the neighborhood. Kids are going to be in.
But see, the thing is, if they get rid of that school, what's going to happen to all those kids? 100 and
Their
so.
families or homes, they're not going to leave.
No. But what they're going to do is they're going to force those kids to get on a bus, which they already do, and instead of going to that little church there, they will go into the county, which is another. Instead of getting up at 7, those kids will have to get up at 4. Instead of getting back at 4, they'll be getting back at 8.
They'll be shipped to Hampton.
Right. Well, that's still going to be add at least an hour and a half.
You have a valid point.
Right? And so those kids will be zombies if they're not already.
Things will change, that's for
You know? No one cares, even though they say they're Christian. Anyway, so what else? I think that's it for me. Kind of, it's getting towards there.
Coming for breakfast, you got an education. Coming for breakfast, you got an education.
Yeah, that's called community.
Well, this is like going to a barber shop.
Yeah, exactly.
The center of learning.
Is the community.
I've been in the store business, Mr. 55 years. I'm well aware of the damn store business.
Yep, see, they're complaining about
I own this and I built it. I know all that.
Yeah.
I don't know this anymore. I sold it to the Now the store, I still own the restaurant. The restaurant, they're fixing to reopen it. I closed it the other day. We couldn't get no help.
How come?
Nobody won't work.
How come?
Do you work?
Yeah.
But you don't work for the public.
What I'm doing it right now.
You're talking what you're doing. Hell of a difference in talking and working. If it was, I'd be a millionaire. Talking to make money. I'm not a lawyer. Lawyers don't want to get paid to talk.
Actually, guy wants his place. Jan, his wife is Jerry, and he's dead. Anyway, so he didn't like what I'm saying. Well, that's cool. Oh, so that's about everybody. Catch you later.